Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Sorry, had a little phone accident here. Give me 1 second. Got multiple devices going on. How's everyone doing today? Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's all quiet in the chat today. It's very quiet today. What's going on? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Jacob. Did I get that in? Hold on, I'm having trouble clicking even. Good morning, John. Good morning, Royal Palms. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Richard. I guess Sterling is tied up with his day job. We don't have any news or anything else, but we'll cover all that. Again, thank you for tuning in. I do not know if there'll be a live stream tomorrow. Do not know if there'll be a live stream tomorrow. I might have an appointment that I have to be at where I'll be driving on the road at this time. If it just depends when that gets scheduled, and I don't have confirmation yet. So if you don't see anything pop up tomorrow, or if it pops up extra early, that's what happens. Good morning, Andrea. Good morning, David. Thank you for tuning in. So that's what's going on tomorrow. So remember, tomorrow is non-farm payrolls for January, and this is the most volatile non-farm payrolls of the year tomorrow, because they put in a bunch of adjustments. So you can see some wild swings. And I don't know how it's going to come out. So just be prepared for that tomorrow. What else do we have? Other news going on. It looks like, remember, we have Amazon reporting earnings after the close today, and it looks like they're going to surpass, if they beat or meet analyst expectations, they're going to surpass Walmart in terms of retailer revenue, not earnings, retailer revenue from the retail sector. So that'll be interesting. Bank of England cut 25 basis point. Two people wanted a 50 cut in that also. You had some earnings like Qualcomm, which was a beat, but guidance disappointing. So we'll take a look at all that also. All right, this morning though, we had initial jobless claims and continuing jobless claims, both slightly higher than expected, but nothing shocking. So higher than expected, nothing shocking. Market, not really a reaction to that. We have the bill auctions today. We have Waller speaking, and these are all in this afternoon. Daily speaking, so we got a little more Fed speak, which pretty much the summation of the Fed speak this week, from my perspective, was we're going to slow roll it now. We've done our cuts, and now we're going to wait and see and look at the data. But we're not anxious to start cutting it unless we get some really interesting data, especially on the job fronts. Good morning, Daniel. Got held up in a management meeting. Sterling, you got to tell them where the priorities lie. We figured you got tied up, but thank you for tuning in, though. Again, we always know your day job's most important until you can retire from that. So that's what's going on. Again, for the people tuning in a little later, don't know if there'll be a live stream tomorrow or not. And next Tuesday, there definitely won't be, because I'm moving. Hopefully I'll be able to do one briefly on Monday, but next Tuesday definitely won't be, and Wednesday will be up in the air. So sorry, there's going to be a little disruption in the pattern right now, but there's nothing I can do about it. In terms of the markets, Apple's still pulling back. Google, after a pullback yesterday with earnings, is continuing to drop a little, but I'll be watching for a bounce pattern in that. Tesla looking like it's going to break down, although there is a little minor potential 4-hour double bottom. And you still, Qualcomm's down after their earnings. It wasn't the earnings that were bad, it was the guidance, down over 5% on that. But Nvidia and Broadcom still running higher. You have things like Philip Morris and Altera really running today. You can see that big shift into consumer defensive today. So the market seems to be going in these cycles. It's just, it continues to be pretty much buy everything, but it's just what day are we on? Whether we're buying defensive stocks and more stability stocks, or and pausing a little on the Mag 7 and other growth stocks, or if we're shifting back into growth stocks. That's the way the market's been running recently, but it's still in buy everything mode. Fed Watch 2.0. Let me just hit the refresh on this since I didn't do it for about 20 minutes. We'll just see what this sits because before it was 2 cuts this year, still potentially 2 cuts this year with the second one being in December. I want to watch see how this shifts tomorrow though. It's pretty much locked at this point for March to be a pause. But again, if the payroll numbers due to all their adjustments come in really bad tomorrow, we shall see. We shall see if that changes also. Fear and greed, we're still in fear mode. But breadth has gone back to neutral mode. I don't know how this put call options is saying this is fear. I'm a little confused on what that's printing now. And Schiller PE still back above 38. Again, you had Lilly report a pretty mixed earnings today. You had Roblox dropping big on their active users. You had Peloton and ConocoPhillips. And you had Yum. Taco Bell crushing it. Yum Brands, Taco Bell is crushing it. That's what our takeaway is. Amazon after the close, that's the biggest one, and then you have Cloudflare. But really, oh, by the way, in case you were wondering, MicroStrategy's earnings yesterday were crappy, but they're renaming it. They're renaming MicroStrategy to just Strategy. So everything's good with MicroStrategy because now their company name is Strategy. I don't know why they go from MicroStrategy maybe to MacroStrategy, but what kind of name of a company is just Strategy? All they are is a buyer of Bitcoin. How is there any strategy in that? I guess it's in their financial engineering allowing them to buy Bitcoin. All right. Yet, again, we talked about copper the other day, and I did think it would go to that 200 area, but then it's going into major resistance. That's why reward to risk, and I talked about this briefly on the podcast too, that'll come out. The reward to risk, by the way, this is not a well-formed double top. I'd be watching for a better formation, a little toppier area setting up on the 4-hour. But a lot of this, again, if it starts getting back above 453, I will sit up and take more notice. And if it can hold that level. Right now, some of these things are just moving and there's just not great reward to risk. And we might be setting up for a massive divergence up here. So let's get back to the main markets. S&P today. S&P trading against a very key level coming into the open. A very key level. Because above here, there's been substantial selling pressure. All right, this is where it topped out in mid-December. This is where it topped out in January, and then it topped out last Friday prior to the tariff tantrum. So this is a very key level. That does not mean it has to stop here, but I'm watching for any selling pressure to potentially come in here, not just today, but tomorrow also. If we do blast through 6106, which is the key level I'm watching this morning, there isn't much. The next major level that I'm keying off of then is right there, 6128. 6128 is a very key level of significance. It's a very key level of significance. That was a prior gap left behind area. It's where it topped out on the 4-hour basis last Friday. Again, that's where I'll start watching for additional selling pressure. So that's what's, yes, you hear Roscoe. Roscoe's laying on a cushion next to me snoring away. Because he's had a stressful morning. It was filled with a walk at 5 a.m. and then his breakfast. So you know what? It's time to go back to bed after that. Normally he'd be laying on the cushion next to my wife, but my wife's still in Chicago today. She flies back tonight. The NASDAQ. So I hope the story doesn't interrupt the live stream too much. NASDAQ, the key level is 21,867 on the resistance side. If we do pop above there, then for me, I have this declining channel line but I'll be focusing then on the 75% harmonic 21,992. It's really, you see here, between this 21,866 and the declining channel line, I'm going to be watching for selling pressure to come in. But if we can break through the channel line, then I'll be targeting 21,922. On the support side, at this point, the key support is coming in about 21,600 to about 21,620. That's where I'm watching for key support. If we did drop below there, there's a significant buying pressure below 21,390, so 21,400. The Dow does have a potential double top pattern in this. Not that is going to come into play today, but that is the only bearish pattern on the Dow. Hold on one second. Hey Ross, you gotta stop the snoring just a little, buddy. Okay, I know. Sorry to wake you up, but you're really snoring. All right, topping back out this 87.5. If we get through the 87.5, it's really got to get above 45,300. 45,300 is key, and then I'll start focusing on some more upside rooms to retest the high. And if we break out, if you do break out, not today, but even next week, the key areas that I'd be focusing on are 46,131. But that's for the future. The Russell closing in against very key resistance area, and the double bottom is still in place. The Russell with the pullback in the yields, although the yields are stabilizing a bit today. So, key support now coming in about 2003.16 and trading up against key resistance. Remember, the trigger point on the closing basis for the potential double bottom is 2,337. The VIX, again, back into complete no fear mode, dropping into the very big support area. So I'm just going to watch if it continues to drop, how it behaves around 15. DAX now into potential double top territory. Does not mean it ever has to trigger, but from a trailing perspective, for a more medium-term trailing perspective, it's now from my levels of 21,194 on a closing basis. Now, if it continues higher, 21,997, so 22K, and then there's a major cluster at about this 22,100. We have a dual harmonic cluster, which also, if you trade it up to there, would invalidate the potential double top. The notes, little pullback against some minor support, but major supports back at 109.08. The yield against some minor resistance coming in at 4.4, and major resistance now back at 4.5. What I'm keeping an eye on longer term is we've pulled back to the bottom of the rotation zone, and we're getting cycles to the bottom over the next couple days. So I'll be watching to see if we set up some kind of more significant bounce play. Dollar index, watching how we react. We're against some very key support, and we have a potential percent B buy. Now, cycles aren't at the bottom yet, but I'm watching how we close in relation to yesterday's high. Yesterday's high being, what was it? 107.60. 107.60. Right now, we're trading back below it. That's the only thing I'm keeping an eye on there. 14 hours a day naps for dogs, yes. He will go up and down the stairs and take a nap. So, yeah, Ford's down 5% pre-market. Is currently trading below major support level. It's 955. They gave not good guidance. Crude, keeping an eye on this. In crude, might not happen today, might never happen, but we do have a little potential double bottom on a 4-hour basis. So I talked about looking for a bottoming pattern. I thought it might get a little lower, down to the 50% harmonic at least. We're not quite there, but the only thing that makes me bullish, it is against the rotation zone on the daily basis, but that would be out of the way if it rallied. That's the only thing. Other than that, I'll continue to watch for pullbacks unless that double bottom does trigger. Natty gas, a whole lot of nothing. Still, gold, we're pausing at the key harmonic area. So I'm still watching to see if this is going to be a sideways or a pullback correction. Does that change anything with the overall big picture of gold? No. We've just gone a little too far, a little too fast. So I'm watching for a pause or a pullback in gold. And the key pullback level for me in the short term is 28.50. We already looked at copper. Yen dropping back through to 200 and looks like it could close. Now, if we close below the 62.5 today, I'll be watching for the yen to strengthen back to the beginning of December's area. So then I'll be watching for rollover plays in the yen. What else? Hey, let's look at their strategy. Strategy, look at these. I'm surprised. I mean, this thing's holding up. But geez, these numbers are horrible. And it's slightly up. I don't know what people are thinking anymore. Bitcoin, little bounce there today, but nothing really key. Really watch on the good old Bitcoin, this 96,650 level. 96,650 has been the key support. I mean, if you want the final breaking point, it's about 96,200. But I'm watching in that area because if that breaks, we could see a real quick potential return to 91,900. The spiders, 605.99 on a rollover play, 604.22 to the gap fill. And that's a pretty key area of support also. You see here we had a very key close right there and a prior support base over here. So that's what I'll be watching there. On any rollover play, on any rally. We're still looking at, I'm looking at now the open from last Friday, of 607.50. 607.50 shall be a key target to the upside. The Qs, again, slight gap up. So on any rollover play, 526.85 is to the gap fill. Other than that, the key level is about 529.50. Let's take a look at Ford. Ford breaking very, very key support. So this right here was a very key level. You see it right there where it found support before. It tested that. Those were the November 23 lows and then the August 24 lows on a Monday, the 5th of August, where everything just took a crap and then held. Then it's tried to make a base there, but breaking down. So I would not be trying to bottom pick Ford at this point because let's take a look at the bigger picture in Ford. The bigger picture. Remember, we could easily, this is also 75% harmonic, we could easily return Ford to the mid $6 to $7 range. So would not be rushing in to buy Ford in the short term. So that's the way we look there. What else do we hear? Toyota has a potential weekly double top in place. The stock is down 2%. Is that valid? I guess if you use the right-hand side. Oops. Let's make sure. 191. So it would have to close below 179. So still a fair way off from that. And then I'd really be focusing on that first target area, about 170 with that one. What else do people mention? I'm not seeing anything else. What else? Let's just pick Tesla. Tesla does have a little potential. Might be invalidated today on the open, but it did have a little potential double bottom going in. other than that, I'm watching for rollover plays in Tesla also. In the breakdown, the real key area on the weekly now is back at about 350. And if we lose that, that's where I'm focused on a reconnection with the 200 simple, which we have not reconnected with since October of 24. So we'll have wiped out the election, post-election run-up of Tesla. So I would not be backing up the truck to buy this at this point, unless, and it wouldn't even be backing up the truck unless you have that double trigger. Nvidia, still on any rallies, I'm watching for rollover plays in this. Because again, major resistance is 129.51. Broadcom regained its key level, off a little this morning, but there just isn't a lot of great trade in this right now. There's not a lot of great setups. And this thing's still trading at insane valuations. So, with their earnings not being till the end of February. Daniel put up HCA. Thank you. I missed HCA. HCA. If it can pop through this key 337 area, really 337.60 area, this is not a double. This is not a double. What I'd be watching for then is a pretty quick trip. Look where your prior breakdown zone is. Your 200 and the 50% harmonic. So if it can sustain something and break out, then you could see it could be a very interesting short-term play from about 348 to 350, 353 area as a key target. What would change my mind on that if it closed back below the rotation zone, which is coming in about 328. Let's just take a look at the longer term. Now, we are at weekly cycle tops. So this really has to follow through with a close roughly about 337.60. Other than that, a pullback would not bother me at this point, and waiting for some kind of pullback to look for another long setup. Daniel's hoping for the pop. Well, there you go. There's your setup. Just manage your reward to risk. Okay. That's all I see. With that, I shall talk to everyone. Well, I don't know if I'll talk to anybody tomorrow. There's two options. It'll probably either be earlier or no live stream. If I can't, I'll tweet something else. Once I know today, follow me on X at MG Arnold. MG, as in Michael Gordon Arnold. And I will tweet out if I can do some kind of live stream or not. For general trade selection, what is my minimum reward to risk? My minimum reward to risk to break even, I will never go below 1. I prefer 1.2. And that's to at least get it to a break-even trade. And then let things run. If I can't get a reward to risk, if anything set up goes below 1, I will not even consider it. And I prefer 1.2. And that's to my first level. That's not to where I'm going to unwind the whole trade. Okay? Because if I can catch a runner, you know, that's where your big things come from, the ones that run. So that's the way I do it. You're welcome, Andrea. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Really watch the S&P. We're trading against a very key level today, so that's what I'm going to be focused on. 6106 going into the open in a couple minutes, and into the open now key support 6087. Talk to everyone later. Bye for now.